Good morning. I apologize for my cold in advance, but my name is Miss Lee, and I am Dean of Global and Diversity Education here at the Taft School. And as I was reflecting on what I would share with you today, I thought, wow, it has been over 20 years since I sat in your shoes as a high school student. And while I am so often reminded of how much the world has changed between your generation and my generation, I am also reminded of a similarity between our teenage or high school years. For example, like many of you, in high school, I was an athlete, a musician, actively involved in community service, and an overall extremely hardworking, diligent student in the classroom. And I think you can see me there. So, as an athlete, I played girls varsity basketball, was a starting point guard on my team, and captain of my team. Now, I'm actually too shy to list every athletic award I won in high school, so I'll just put up a picture of one. But I would say this, my biggest lesson from playing sports was the power of team. It was with my teammates that we did the impossible. It was through my teammates that I learned that our team was only as strong as our weakest link. And it was with those same teammates that I am still in close contact with today. I might also add that it was through working successfully on a team towards a common goal that I gained invaluable skills that will land me almost any job that I have wanted throughout my lifetime. Now, as a musician in high school, I played the French horn and was drum major of my band. If you are familiar with what a drum major is, raise your hand. How many? Okay, so not many of you won't be so familiar, so I thought I'd bring a clip of a drum major in a band to show you what drum majors do. I didn't have one of myself, so here we go. Okay. Drum majors. So, I brought a picture of me as a drum major in high school. So, many of you may not have believed that, well, Miss Lee, that's what I used to do. I think as it is clear, the drum major leads and conducts the marching band on the field. You typically see drum majors at halftime shows during high school football games in public schools or college football games. Now, to be honest, I don't think that I was as charismatic of a drum major as what you may have just seen, but once again, as with athletics, there were numerous awards at the local, regional, and state levels that I won as a drum major. And while I am still honored and humbled by each of those accolades, my most memorable experiences of being in a high school band and orchestra were not the awards I won as drum major or as a solo French horn player, but instead, the relationships that I developed with my peers, some of whom I hold some of my closest relationships to this day. And as a hardworking, diligent student in the classroom in high school, I was able to get accepted to the very top universities in our country and eventually go on to earn numerous awards and advanced degrees in a relative short period of my life. Now you may ask, why am I sharing this with you? Well, because high school was such an important point in my life. For it was in high school that I really began to explore everything I could possibly have a passion for. And in fact, it was in high school that I began to learn that I have a passion for working with young people, that I love sports and music, and that I am, in fact, a nerd. And I might add, I'm very comfortable and happy with my nerdiness. But it was especially in high school that I began to explore my passion for community service, international relations, and diplomacy and travel. And it was through the Interact Club, which is, for those of you that are familiar with Rotary, it's Rotary's International Service Club for young people ages 12 to 18, that I helped co-found as a junior in high school, and that the seeds for my interest in global and diversity education were planted, and hence why it makes sense for me about the work that I do at Taft now. And it was again through exposure to the Interact Club that I would eventually have a desire to travel throughout the world, from France to Mozambique, to Turkey, to Brazil. This is me in Brazil dressed as a Baiana, to South Africa, to Zimbabwe, and the list goes on, and I brought a couple of other pictures. This is me in Brazil horseback riding, me in Zimbabwe, elephant safari, and feeding the elephant, thanking them for the nice ride. It was through my high school exposure in the Interact Club that would make me a prime candidate for working with former President Clinton and Mandela in South Africa at the age of 24. So, Mr. Clinton. And it was through these experiences that I would develop a passion and compassion for the human rights of all people in the world. This is me in Kliptown, South Africa. And while I could go on and share story after story about my experiences living, studying, and traveling abroad, I want to take the rest of my time with you today to encourage you to make the most of your opportunity at Taft. That is, broaden your horizons both inside and outside our four walls. In our Taft Portrait of a Graduate, we say that a Taft education prepares its students in a community devoted to creating lifelong learners, thoughtful citizens, and caring people. And I always like to add, thoughtful global citizens. Well, how do we do that? What are the opportunities that we make available to help you grow and evolve into a global citizen? Which I might add, and I think this is a really important point, global citizenship is an evolving process. That is to say, you do not just become a global citizen overnight. It is through your education, it is through your life journey and experiences that you eventually come to understand for yourself how you want to be a contributing member of society or a citizen in our global world. So at Taft, we provide numerous opportunities for you to develop yourself as global citizens. That is to say, global and diversity education at Taft exists through many vehicles, and as my life story suggests, you never know where your experiences will lead you. So, I've kind of laid out here some of the opportunities, and this is not all of them. We have the Global Service and Scholarship Department, Global Journal, Model UN, World Fest, UCT, our MLK programs, pool grants, and student diversity leadership conferences. So in a second, I'm going to go into some of these in a little detail, but not all of them, because there will be other morning meetings where you'll have a chance to learn more about other ones of them. And so I guess I will begin with something that's not on this list. And that's with my belief that in its most simplest form, global and diversity education at Taft has the power to exist through the relationships that you develop with your Taft peers that represent over 36 states in 26 countries. And I know you hear that over and over again, but I can't really explain to you how important that fact is. As I mentioned to you earlier, while I have a plethora of accolades from high school that I could speak about ad nauseum, my most memorable experiences, however, are the relationships that I developed with a diverse group of peers. So needless to say, I start by encouraging you to take advantage of the opportunities that you have each day at Taft to get to know someone new. Maybe you want to set a goal for yourself. Once a week, you get to know someone new. You'll be amazed at how remarkable and talented your peers really are. Now, from an institutional, more structured perspective, there are various other avenues by which you can experience global and diversity education at Taft. For example, you can take courses in the Global Service and Scholarship Department, such as Mr. Shotwell's World Cinema class or Global Issues class, Mr. Ganung's Terror in the Name of God, Buddhism or Philosophy class, Ms. Orban's Global Public Health class that will be offered in the spring, Mr. Torino's Literature of Civil Disobedience class, it's offered now, or my Social Justice, Human Rights, or Service Learning classes. You can also participate in our global service trips. So, we have 2 ongoing service trips that happen each year, one during spring break and the other over the summer. Our trip to the Dominican Republic, which will be led by veteran trip leaders Mr. Clifford and Ms. Monty, will occur during spring break 2013. And our trip to Guatemala will be led by veteran teacher leader Mr. Detlefs in June 2013. A little bit more about the Dominican Republic trip. It is our longest standing service, global service trip at Taft, going on close to 10 consecutive years. Again, it happens during the first week of spring break. It leaves that Saturday after vacation begins. Through our long-standing relationship with Orphanage 360, students that go on this trip teach English to students who live at and around a large orphanage. So if you're interested in this trip, you should please contact Mr. Clifford or Ms. Monty. Now, our Guatemala trip is now going on its 6th year. You'll see some of your classmates in that picture. And the trip happens in June, and what students do, they do a number of things on this trip, but the big project that they do is they build homes for families that do not have a home in Guatemala. So the home that you see is a home that was built by your peers. So again, if you're interested in something like this, you should contact Mr. Detlefs. And lastly, I'll add, which I had on the previous slide, that we are adding to our list of global service trips in future years 2 new trips. We're adding Brazil for the summer of 2014, which will be an environmental service trip. And then we're also adding a trip to India in the time to be determined. So stay in tune for more details regarding these trips. At Taft, we also have, for you new students that haven't seen it, the big paper, the Global Journal. The Global Journal is a student-led publication established in order to shed light on the range of perspectives and experiences of the Taft community and encourage school-wide discussion of global events. This year's editors-in-chief are Whit Fetter and Tiffany Lee. If you would like to be a contributing editor to the journal and have not yet been in contact with Whit or Tiffany, you should contact them soon, as the upcoming deadline for our first publication is October 6th. The Global Journal puts out 3 publications each year. The first one for this year will come out over Parents' Weekend. But we are also proud to say that the Global Journal is now online. So, just show you how to get to it. So if you go to the Taft homepage, non-Usibi, Global Journal is right there at the top, and you'll see Global Journal is now online. So you can read it online. At Taft, you can also participate in Model UN, which is a group of Taft students that travels to the National Model UN conferences to participate with other school representatives in developing policies and making decisions about international issues. This year, we will attend Harvard's Model UN in February at Harvard and New York University's Model UN in April. If you are interested in being part of Model UN, you should join us on this Monday, October 1st at 6 p.m. in Moratorium 107. The group leaders this year are Lucas D., Michael Chung, Lin Tang, Rosalie Chesana, and Taewon Shim. We also have UCT, or the Universal Cultures at Taft. UCT this year is being headed up by Lauren Adho and Tommy Robertshaw. The group this year will host outside speakers, intercultural school dances, and trips to intercultural school dances at other schools. So if you want to be more involved, you should contact Lauren and or Tommy. And lastly, I'll add that there's an opportunity to become more engaged in global and diversity education at Taft through participation in student diversity leadership conferences. Each year, the National Association of Independent Schools, which Taft is a member of, hosts a National Student Diversity Leadership Conference and a Connecticut Regional Conference. This year, we're proud to say, through the hard work and relationships of Ms. Watts and the admissions office, Taft is hosting the Regional Student Diversity Leadership Conference on April 21st. And so to give you a glimpse of what happens at an SDLC, I have a clip to share from the 2009 National Conference in Denver.
My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
But we don't often look at the price of our blessings. We don't often stop to think about the fact that while, here we are in this mile-high city, and we've been talking about, how to move mountains, that one of the things that we have to be clear about is sometimes, in our rush to either climb the mountain, get over the mountain, get to the other side, that we forget it's the people who are left down at the bottom of the mountain that make the difference.
People from all across the country that don't even know each other can come together and share ideas and can just come together for a common purpose, and it's a beautiful thing when something like that can happen.
It's a little different for us because Mosaic, the Diversity Club, is just a concentrated group of students, and we don't really get to reach everyone that we wish we could.
Also, teachers kind of make not outright racist comments, but kind of racial slurs, and just kind of do they really just say that? I struggle to sometimes even stand up for myself when I face discrimination because, I don't know what exactly to say without being really mean because there's a lot of anger behind it.
Are we people who simply talk about justice, or do we work to make justice happen?
So, that was a couple years ago. So this year's National Student Diversity Leadership Conference will be held in Houston, Texas. And as I said, the Connecticut Regional Conference will be held here at Taft. If you are interested in participating, you should stay tuned for more information that will be coming out over news. So these are but a few of the many opportunities that you have to broaden your horizons both inside and outside Taft. I will speak to you all again in January as we prepare for our upcoming Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations. But until then, as you continue your journey of making the best of your Taft education, in the words of an anonymous poet, I hope that you continue to grow in the wisdom to perceive the interconnectedness of all life and living, have the courage not to fear or deny difference, but to respect and strive and to understand people of different cultures and to grow from encounters with them, and to have the compassion to maintain an imaginative empathy that reaches beyond one's immediate surroundings and extends to the suffering and those suffering in distant places. So as you grow into an understanding of what these principles mean to you, I look forward to seeing you in that growth as you evolve as global citizens both inside and outside Taft. If you have any questions about global and diversity education, please feel free to shoot me an email or come by and see me anytime. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.